In today's world, I always talk about being seen, being heard, and being relevant. You cannot lead in silence. Visibility is a leadership and a business strategy. Today, my guest is a PR and brand strategist who helps leaders stop being the best kept secret. With decades in the media and the influential space, she knows exactly how to get you seen, heard, and taken seriously without selling or shrinking yourself. In this episode, we dive into the business of visibility, the mindset behind showing up, the strategy behind media success, and why owning your story is an absolute non-negotiable. So if you're ready to stop hiding behind your work and you're ready to be seen, be heard, and be relevant, this is an episode you do not want to miss. Welcome to the Rise Up For You podcast. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rise Up For You podcast. This is your host, Natalina Nasruddin. Very excited to bring to you yet another amazing guest and dear friend right here in Las Vegas. Please give it up for Gina Yager. Hi, Gina.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us here on the Rise Up For You podcast. So before we jump in, I always like to tell the audience, anyone that I invite on the show, typically I either see them online, doing amazing things, or I've met you out in the community. I know you were like super kind and nurturing and welcoming to me when I first moved to Vegas 3 years ago. And obviously we've been building the relationship and following each other's work since. And you're in such a critical space, especially for somebody like me who's a small business owner, right? The PR, the marketing. I always say like how to be seen, be heard, and be relevant in your space as a thought leader. And so before we really jump into the expertise of what you're doing, a little bit about who you are, where you came from and why you're in this space today.
Yeah. So I grew up in Southern California and I moved to Las Vegas about 23 years ago. And I started my career there in public relations for 2 years. And so I'd only been out of college for a couple of years in the PR space at an agency. I went to college for marketing, but I didn't want to do sales, which is what all of the opportunities were at the time.
Yeah.
And so I got a job at a PR company, knew very little about PR at the time, other than just it's a small overlap, with marketing. So I moved here and started working for an agency, was there for 15 years. And I thought I would retire there, but that agency folded about 8 years ago. That's when I launched my own company. I really wanted to give direct service and to my own client base other than, going to work for another company at the time.
I always like to know how you built, I guess, the obsession or the fascination in this industry, right? So usually anyone that I bring onto the podcast, they have developed a consistency, and I think the right word is obsession in their industry, which is why they become great. So what got you to be really involved in this specific space of PR? Like even before you went to college, was there something that was an epiphany for you? Did you just enjoy it? Like how did you really get into this space?
So I was looking for jobs when I graduated and, anything in kind of marketing, advertising. And my mom had a friend who owned an agency in LA and, go interview there, see if they have any opportunities. And they did, but they first wanted me to be the assistant to the senior vice president. I said, I don't want to be anybody's assistant. I want to learn from the ground up. So I started as an account coordinator. My first day, they stuck me at a desk and said, you're replacing somebody, figure out what she was doing. No training at all. But I quickly learned that I really enjoyed storytelling. I really enjoyed creating news, sometimes when there wasn't. And that's what I do. That's what I love is, we believe every company has a story to tell. And I love sharing that story with media, creating a narrative. And then our job is to get media exposure for our clients.
So tell me, okay, I'm going to pick this apart a little bit here, Gina, because this is something that I like to explore a lot. What does it mean to do PR in media, right? From a practical level, just like break it down. Because I think that in today's world, a lot of industries get kind of like thrown together. You don't really know what it means or like the complete scope of what you can do. So just break it down in simple terms and then we'll niche it out a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. So oftentimes people are like, what exactly does a PR person do? So we help our clients build exposure about their products or services. So we develop a communication strategy that raises awareness about their work and increases revenue. So every project or initiative, when we start with a new client, it starts with a strategic strategic plan. And that usually all comes down to what we call earned media. Our goal is to get earned media. So that's unbuyable editorial media coverage, such as news stories, TV, radio interviews, feature stories in magazines, podcast guest opportunities like this. This is all strategically designed to land exposure in media outlets. So that within your target market. So, whatever your target market is consuming, watching, reading, etc., wherever they consume their news, because the value is authentic. It's unbiased media coverage and personal interest storytelling far outweighs the cost of an advertisement. So with that said, we are firm believers in integrated marketing as well. So no form of marketing works by itself. So that's what we believe. We believe it all has to work together. So advertising, marketing, social media, owned media, which is, putting your own content out there on your website, blog writing, etc., and public relations all work together for the right exposure for a company. So you look at Coke or you look at Nike, they have all of it. They don't just have, I'm just going to put my money towards advertising. They have strategic communications for their entire company's, brand awareness and exposure. So that's just a little.
Yeah, a little, and it's a lot. And so I guess, how does somebody, because I know, being an entrepreneur and obviously having a community of entrepreneurs, I know that there's times where somebody will research getting PR, invest in PR, and then they feel like it wasn't supportive for them. So in your own professional opinion, it's kind of the same question that we get is like, how do you find a good coach? How do you know that if I'm going to pay for this coach that they're actually going to get me results? Like, what is a good PR person to you? Like, what's a standout public relations company that you say, hey, like, these are the things you got to do right to support your client so that their service and their partnership with you is actually fruitful and beneficial?
Right. That's a good question. And we are in the communications business, and it all comes down to communications. So the more we communicate with our clients, the more they understand and know what we're doing for them. So we always tell, potential clients when we're meeting with them, hey, you will never wonder what we're doing. We will always showcase to you. It starts out with a strategic plan. And then every time we meet with them, there is past, present, future. So we're starting off of that plan. We are executing it. And then we're meeting with them saying, hey, this is what we've landed so far. Here's the next steps. And then here's, future goals. The best way to find the proper, fit for you is to get referrals, do your research, get referrals, and then meet with a few different companies. They don't have to be local, but if you're launching in your local market first, and then you want to branch out into national, which is oftentimes good for a startup, you might want to pick a local firm that understands your market and create exposure for you in that local market before you branch out. Talk to their former clients or talk to their current clients, see what is important to them, what kind of success they've had. But again, it all comes down to that communications and that direct client access. We're always communicating, we're always giving reports, status reports, updates, via text, via email, phone calls, meetings, etc.
Yeah. And I can imagine that you're also always building your, I would say, partnership, right? Because when it comes to PR, as the agency, you're also creating a network where you can take your clients and say, hey, we got this magazine for you, or we got this TV show for you, or whatever it is, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're building relationships with media contacts as we work with our clients. So sometimes we go directly to those, but it's not just about those media outlets or contacts, journalists, reporters that we already have relationships with. We are always pitching journalists we don't know. And so it's about having that story angle that's going to grab attention, that it's going to resonate with them. And they're going to say, hey, this is something I'm interested in covering because either it's along the storylines of something they normally cover. It's in the news right now. It's caught their attention in some way. So there's a strategy behind that as well. And a lot of times people that don't know a lot about PR, they'll think, oh, they just write press releases and they just send them out. But there's so much more work behind it that goes out that you can't just write something and expect somebody to pick it up. There's strategy behind media relations is what we call the process of earning media. And that's just the strategy that we draft, that we coordinate, and then we build our media lists, but it's very targeted as well. So, we're looking to get quality media covered instead of quantity. It's better about quality than quantity.
I'm curious because as I'm hearing you talk and, you were listing the different avenues of PR, what do you think is one of the bigger challenges you see with the clients that you work with? Like in my assumption, because we teach soft skills, right? And the fourth pillar is influential communication. I can imagine that you probably have clients that want to go on TV shows or radio shows or podcasts, but they have a hard time actually communicating and creating like influence influence in their talking, right? Maybe they have this incredible brand, but maybe they have challenges communicating it from a verbal standpoint. What would you say are some challenges that you see when working with clients?
Sometimes that does happen. And there are some clients that we come across that have a real fear of being in front of the camera. I've had clients cry before to me saying, don't ever put me on TV again. I said, this is why you hired us. You hired us to create exposure for you in that way. And so, and this was after media training. So, but that's the only time that's happened. Generally with some coaching, we can help get them camera ready and get them in front of the camera and remember, main talking points, the way that they can, when you're asked a question, you should answer with the question first, repeat the question first, and then give your answer. There's a lot of tips and techniques being in interviews so you don't forget your key points and you don't go off topic or you don't get spooked by, somebody asking you a question that might be off topic. So it's all about preparation. When we have clients get ready for interviews, we'll give them a whole interview sheet on, here's the reporter who's asking you questions. These are the questions we expect them to ask because these questions are basically part of how we pitch the story to them. So we expect them to go in this type of flow and here's what to wear, here's what not to wear, all of those things so that they feel fully prepared. And then if they just want to go off of that, great. If not, we say, hey, if you're not comfortable, let us know so we can walk you through the process and we can maybe role play before your interview.
Yeah, I love that. Is there anything that you think the clients need to do to prepare before they get to you? Like, do they need to get more clarity on their vision or do you help them with all that?
Yeah, sometimes they'll come to us knowing exactly what they want exposure for. Hey, I'm starting up a new company, or I just started and now we're about to make our launch. Or we had one client come to us, hey, we have been around for 50 years, but we are not known to the general consumer because for the past 45 years, we have been in a multi-level marketing is what they did before. And that's how they sold with builders in different markets. And so now we'd like to let the public know that we've got, you can buy directly from us. You don't have to go, like a Mary Kay or, to a representative. And so in those cases, it's, okay, we're going to build a whole campaign on how we can go directly to the consumer. But in that case, we have been building up that client in their local market, which is Las Vegas. First, we want to show how philanthropic they are. We want to show all of the programs that they've been to. It turned out that they had so much that we could talk about. They have a lab facility where they, R&D, where they build all of their products. Yeah. They have a give back portion of their company. They were just launching and building a mascot. And so it allowed us opportunities for us to go, okay, these are newsworthy things that we can take and turn into projects that we can create news around and then pitch those stories to the media for your company. What solutions do you provide your end user? Can we talk to the people who you've impacted, who have benefited from your solutions? Those can be stories too, those personal interest stories and how lives have been changed by your products or your services.
All right, well, we're going to have to talk after the podcast, Gina. Gina, it's been an honor to have you on the show. I'd love to wrap up with our rapid fire section. So I'm going to shoot a couple questions at you. Okay. So the first question is, if you can leave the world with one final message, we call it the golden nugget here. What would a golden nugget be to our audience?
A golden nugget. So Bill Gates had a really famous quote. Well, it's famous to me in my industry, but if I was down to my last dollar, I'd spend it on PR.
That's a very appropriate quote for you. Another question for you is, as you know, soft skills is a big part of what we do. And the 4 soft skills that are important to us are confidence, emotional intelligence, leadership, and influential communication. If you had to rate yourself 1 through 10 on self-confidence, 10 being amazing, 1 being danger zone, what would you give yourself?
I don't know, maybe an 8.
Okay, awesome.
There's room for improvement, and I definitely do not have an ego. So
absolutely, I love that.
Yes, there's it's like even some of the people that are most famous or most recognized get a little nervous before 100%. They go on stage or they give a speech or TED Talk like you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been there. Totally.
There's always work to strengthen.
Yeah, I love that. I have one more question for you. But before I ask, where can the audience connect with you, follow you, especially if they are local to Vegas as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is gycvegas.com, and I'm Gina Yager on LinkedIn or GYC Vegas. And then you can also follow our handles at GYC Vegas on Instagram or Facebook. And we have a podcast as well.
Yes.
called Get Your Chat On with GYC Vegas. If you go there, you will hear a story. I don't know if we posted it yet, but with Netta as well. And that's anywhere you stream your podcast.
Oh, yes. Yeah, tell me if it posted. I haven't seen it yet, but if it does, we'll share
Yeah,
it.
I think it's going to be in a few more weeks.
Okay, cool. Final question for you, Gina. As you know, we are Rise Up For You. So what comes to mind when you hear that phrase, rise up for you?
Gosh, I think it goes down to when I started my company and I said, how am I going to promote this? How am I going to get out there into the community? And I'm a firm believer in our local chambers. And so that's how I rose up. I joined both chambers, showed up, shook hands with people and said, hey, I'm Gina. I do PR and, let's talk. And it was just a great way to start getting involved in the local community, build relationships with people who can be your referral network. And those are the ways that I have risen up with, creating a community around me that I serve and that helps serve me.
I love that. Shout out to all of our local chambers. We love you. Awesome. Gina, thank you so much for joining us today on the Rise Up For You podcast. It was an honor to have you on today's show.
Thank you, Netta. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining the Rise Up For You podcast. Again, this is your host, Netta-Lena Nasruddin, every week bringing you new episodes with new amazing thought leaders from around the world to help you be your best. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel and check us out on social media. We are everywhere, from LinkedIn to Instagram to Facebook at our simple handle at Rise Up For You. On every single platform, it's exactly the same. And we're providing new content on every single platform, so there's something different everywhere. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast, and connect with us on social media. I'll see you next time.